Welcome to another edition of Journeys of Hope. Tonight we have two individuals who are going to be talking about body, mind, spirit connection. And I think today two of the two individuals joining us will be able to really help you understand and see how that's tied in with grief. So with that, the two people I have joining me tonight are Lynda Cheldelin and Diane Spear. And so welcome.
Thank you.
Maybe each one of you could, Diane, why don't you go first?
I have been happily working for 25 to 30 years now as my full-time career as a holistic counselor and teacher trainer in holistic healing arts and modalities. And I've been doing that with individuals, with groups, obviously in the last 4 years with the bereavement cruise. And the cruise has been a wonderful area to be able to bring this work out further and in an arena that also embraces living life, enjoying life, and sharing with a group of people who are in the same experience and in the hands of a team of experts that we have on board for this event.
And Lynda, why don't you tell us about yourself?
My name is Lynda Cheldelin, and I work primarily in education and help people advocate for themselves. On the cruise, I'm actually going to be doing something that's a little bit different, but it's very close to my heart. Those people who don't know my story, 2 years before our daughter died, I dreamt of her death. And one thing led to another, and I believe that our loved ones contact and communicate with us from the other side. And so on the cruise, I am going to be teaching people about after-death communication, but what I'm super excited about is that I'm going to help them learn to connect with their own loved one. And that's very exciting to me. That's something that really lifts my heart and is a true joy. So very excited about that. Well, you know, when you're a bereaved individual, it's very isolating and suddenly you feel like a square peg in a round world. And it's very important to surround yourself with people who speak your lost language, because there is comfort in knowing that someone else understands. And not only that, but it gives you hope that if they can survive, maybe you can too. So the Circle of Hope is support groups where we sit with one another and talk about our losses, talk about what brings us joy and what has been the most meaningful and healing to our hearts. And it's very cathartic for people to share their own experiences. And, you know, a lot of people think that support groups is a bunch of people just sitting around crying. And, you know, we do cry, but we also laugh. And people walk away with a heart that feels a little lighter, and it feels more like you've got some skills to face the future, because when you lose a loved one, there's a lot of fear about the future. And so the Circles of Hope are designed specifically to share our stories and give each other, you know, hope that life won't always feel this raw. And so they're actually very beautiful.
Yeah, I found them to be really healing. I like the fact that there were so many offered, that whether you wanted to be with other bereaved parents, or you wanted to be with people who had lost their spouse, or whether you wanted to be, you know, all the different groups that were there to connect, and there were different abilities to really connect there. So I thought that was really special. And when do those occur on the cruise?
You know, the cruise, being a 5-star cruise, it's 7 nights at sea. And so some of those days are spent at port, where that you have stops in different, you know, places, such as Puerto Rico, etc. And so we try to work around all the activities that a cruise has to offer, in addition to the bereavement conference aspect. And so they are held in the evening, and they generally run about 90 minutes. And they are fully volunteer. People can come if they feel like they need a little extra support that day, or they can go do something. The cruise, there's a lot to do on the cruise. And so if you feel like doing something else, you can. And so that's the beauty of this bereavement conference at sea, is that you've got a lot of different menu choices about, what you want to do. And the Circles of Hope is just one of them. So they're in the evening for those people who would like to have an extra hug.
Just like Lynda said, that people got to share in that camaraderie, to be held, to be respected, to be witnessed for what their experience was, and have others that they could commune with on par. Yeah, and it was very powerful.
I love the fact that you used held and witness. So hug, held, witness. I think that's just an amazing. I think that really sums up, I think, what the formal Circles of Hope offer. Now, you said you were off doing some of the holistic aspects. What were some of the things that you might have been doing?
On the two cruises that I was on, the first and the third, we had aromatherapy. People could come and sit with me and talk to me about what their experiences on the cruise, what their grief journey has been. I think the first time I must have had almost a dozen and a half people sit with me one-on-one and share all that information with me. And then I go through a process where they create their own personal healing aromatherapy blend. And we spend some time with that, and they bless it for their highest good and their healing, and get to take that away with them, either as a spray or a roll-on or a drop bottle. Some of the other things that we were doing, that I was doing anyway, we're helping on the last cruise with the Reiki healing. We had people in a separate room that could sit in a chair, and a couple of the other presenters and myself would come and offer people little mini chair Reiki healing sessions. And I think people found that very, very relaxing at the very least.
Yeah, and in the morning you had the yoga sessions, but I think
We
we're gonna
had the yoga
offer them.
sessions. Yeah, we had some people that were willing to get up early and come on down and gently stretch and move their bodies. And during those sessions, we do very, very gentle yoga movement and exercises and breath practices, because the breath is integral in connecting with the nervous system and calming it and keeping it balanced, and helping people to have control over actually bringing themselves into relaxation response through breath. And I understand on this cruise that Lynda's going to be doing laughter yoga, that I'm going to be an assistant in, which is also very healing. And we do little mini guided imagery meditation. And the folks that did come seemed to really, really enjoy that, and did very, very well with it. And hopefully went away with some tools to be able to do on their own. Holistic healing arts asks us to take responsibility for our healing, our body, mind, spirit, and creating a life that's harmonious from the inside out. And it also gives us the tools to be able to do that can be integrated easily, actually, into daily. I mean, we breathe all the time. So if we start to think about how we breathe, we can actually create change in our body systems and our mind and our feelings to help ourselves feel better, or if we're really, really sad, to help shift that away, or to at least be able to sit with that sadness in a way where we're still empowered.
Yeah.
Right. Be able to hold it and hold ourselves.
I like that, to be able to take responsibility for that, because I think that is sometimes we can feel like we've lost all control of everything, but as you say, there's still healing that can be offered through that. So that's beautiful. Lynda, what is laugh yoga? That does those two terms sound like two words that don't belong together to me? So what is laugh yoga?
Well, you know what yoga is. Well, laughter yoga is kind of a new thing for the past few years, and it's actually taking two very powerful healing modalities and pairing them into one. And laughter itself releases the endorphins in the brain. And so one of the things that you can do for yourself when you're feeling especially triggered or sad, or in the darkness of grief, is you can find ways to laugh and watch a funny movie or funny videos on YouTube or what have you. Laughter yoga is a really cool pairing where we walk people through different exercises that use breathing paired with laughing to help them feel better. And I know it sounds really strange, but it's actually pretty funny. And what's really cool about it is that the brain can't tell the difference between fake laughter and real laughter, right? And usually when you start with fake laughter, with that breathing, it often erupts into organic laughter. And because when you're in the room with other people and you're doing different exercises, they're fairly funny, and so you can't help but start laughing naturally. And so laughter yoga is really cool. It's being taught all around the world, and it's a perfect thing to bring onto the bereavement cruise. I can't think of any better place to teach it. So I'm certified in laughter yoga, and Diane and I are going to bring it to those people who come. Well, people need to give themselves permission to laugh. And a lot of people feel guilty when they laugh. And actually, if you turn it around and use it as a healing modality, it's very powerful. And it's very good for your brain. Releasing those endorphins is important to your healing. The heart can hold joy the same time as sorrow. You don't have to choose. And it's important to give yourself permission and to create those moments of joy, because that helps to balance the sorrow so that your heart doesn't feel just sorrow. And that's how it's healing. So so it's going to be really fun. Diane and I are going to have a good time. We're going to make sure everyone who joins us is going to have a good time.
So let me ask you a question. As far as the holistic healing goes, my favorite aspect was the Reiki. That was that we had done on the last cruise. What was your favorite aspect from a holistic healing aspect of the cruise?
I think that I enjoyed everything I did greatly, and connecting with the guests that I was able to connect with, and there was a lot of really deep sharing. I think if I had to, of everything that I did participate in the holistic offerings, I really enjoyed the self-care for grief care presentation. That was a larger group. We had most of the group there for that, and it was very interactive, and they were very involved. And that, delivers some very specific tools in a way that allows people to understand that this is actually really easy to do, because we go through many experientials that you see the look on someone's face, well, gee, this is so simple. And that's all that, people need to understand, that they, again, can be empowered to take care of themselves with these various, tools and practices, and that are very, very simple to integrate into everyday life. So I think for me, that was probably the most enjoyable, seeing the shift in their faces, and them, being able to have the experience of the inner peace, or whatever it is each of them might have been feeling in those moments. I think we had one cruiser say that week was the first week that she experienced any peace at all since her loss.
Yeah.
And the final picture that we took of everybody, in the beginning, they all came on board, and there was this energy, and there were these faces and expressions, and it was kind of a heavier, sadder energy. And at the end, when we were through all the events and activities, and the fun of the ship, and the fun of the ports, and meeting new friends, and crying and laughing and laughing and crying, and enjoying all the festivities and activities, that the faces were much lighter and brighter. And you could just tell that their hearts had really found some things to help them feel more whole, or more peaceful, or more at ease, or at least more empowered to walk their journey with their grief, and with these extra things to help them along the way. So I think those two things strike me as my.
Lynda, what about from your perspective? What was your favorite holistic aspect of the cruise?
Gosh, for me, I actually feel like the craft afternoon was so cool. there was different crafts that people could do, and I was just really moved by what people were creating, and that kind of blew me away. I didn't expect that, and it's really, people when they grieve with their heart, with their soul, with their spirit, and to see it come out in the form of crafts, that creativity. People who don't think they're creative can create something very beautiful that they get to take home with them. So I was really moved by that. But I have to be honest, Glenn, that, the whole cruise from beginning to end was so not what I expected. I was a reluctant cruiser. I'd never wanted to go on a cruise. And, we went on this one and I was absolutely blown away. And so I have to say, really, all of it was my favorite. The people that were there, the stories that were shared, the hugs that were shared, people held the sacred space for each other, strangers that they had never met, and they left as now lifelong friends. And so there was not one thing on the cruise that I think was not worthwhile.
Final comments either one of you'd like to make?
I'm just excited to get on board and welcome all of our guests, and come on with full confidence that you will experience some wonderful new things. You'll revisit things you're familiar with, and you will go away being empowered and strengthened, and with a healthy toolbox of ways to care for yourself going forward, and some friendships.
For me, I just want people to understand, especially those people who were like me, who are reluctant to go on a cruise. I just want them to know that it really is so much more than you can imagine. And I strongly encourage people to try it. You guys are offering 2 cruises next year. Pick one and try it. And I was probably the person in the whole world who going on a cruise was like the farthest thing for me that I ever want to do, because I get seasick. And not once did I feel seasick, but even more important is that it was just fantastic from beginning to end. And so for those people who are reluctant, you're going to walk away with so much more than you ever expect.